Welcome everyone to the March meeting of the SEAL Forum. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. We have a nice solid agenda for you today with lots of information. I do want to remind you that in the chat, and we will continue to post this, is the questions and note catcher. I'm going to do that right now again so you have it. This is where we'd like you to put all of your questions for the meeting, and then we answer those in the order that they are received as time permits. If there's additional time, we invite you to use the chat to submit questions or to unmute during the question and answer period. I also want to draw your attention on your agenda. You have a link that says link to shared drive. So I'm going to put that in the chat as well. This is our Google folder where we put all of the minutes, the recordings, and any other important documents. So I'm going to put that right in the chat right now so that you have it. That doesn't change. I am a little bit behind on getting the recording from last month in there, but I will work on that this week. So just one announcement actually, and then we're going to go right to our featured speaker. We want to remind you that we have 2 upcoming webinars in the 2023-2024 webinar series. That is March 20th, training panelists to evaluate culminating projects and presentations with Dr. Jordan Gonzalez, and April 10th, demystifying the end-of-year data submission for the SEAL with Anna Stukes. Again, these are recorded, so if the original dates do not work for you, you can watch the recording about a week after the original session is conducted, and then post-assessments are put right on the website. In order to get CTLE credit or attendance credit for watching the recording, you simply take the first post-assessment, and if you get a score of at least 7 out of 10, you'll get your CTLE certificates. So without further ado, I want to let you know that our agenda today, for the most part, consists of a presentation by Maria Fenton on the World Language Days for the Seal of Biliteracy Culminating Project Presentations. Maria, I have made you a co-host, so I am going to stop my share and encourage you to share your screen and begin the presentation.
Okay, and good afternoon, everyone. Let me just get onto my screen. Absolutely. So thank you so much for being here this afternoon, and I hope this is an inspiration to you and at least informative for you. We have, and I'm just going to skip my presenter notes because I think most of you know who I am. I'm just going to briefly tell you that I am with Mid-State Auburn, as Candy mentioned. I am a retired world language teacher. I taught for 30 years, and I have been with Mid-State Auburn for right around 10 years now, almost 10 years. And so that's basically, and you'll be able to get a PDF of this, and you'll be able to see not just this slide, but also all of our notes. Also, there is the Google Doc document that Candy has put together, and for your questions, she'll be handling some of those in the background while we do our conversation. And the goals for today, I'm just going to put all 4 of them up. I think number 1 and number 2 goals are obviously having to do with the culminating project presentation. I think most everyone on the call is familiar with the culminating project and with the fact that along with the creation of that culminating project, students are to also create a presentation to make sure that they present in front of a panel in order to assess their proficiency. The last 2 points, explaining the rationale behind establishing a consortium organized event, and this is what we have done for the Mid-State Auburn region, and also what are the benefits of doing a collaborative effort like that. Those are really the 2 points that I think we are going to concentrate most of our time on. I just want to remind you that the requirements, the criteria for biliteracy would be that students will have 3 points on each one of the languages. So They are proving proficiency in English as well as a world language other than English. And of course, if they have a triliteracy and beyond, then the three criteria points will carry for each one of the literacies. I think most everyone is familiar with that. That criteria is listed in multiple places in our state ed website, and you'll be able to access it through there. The culminating project, what are some of the ideas that we have done, that students have done for culminating projects? And I'm just going to post them as we go along. If you are in our area, any area of the state other than downstate, you know that students are blessed to be able to have some student choice regarding their culminating project. And so we encourage them to work on something that they're passionate about, to maybe share about their culture, to always, of course, include some products and perspectives of another culture, some comparisons. And these are just some of the things that we have seen come through. Most of them present in a PowerPoint, but not all. A lot of them do other things that are part of their presentational presentation writing, and then they go ahead and they present that at our World Language Day. As you know, the culminating project has really these three components. There is a writing component. We usually suggest that students write their project and take at least 400 to 500 words, which is sufficient to be able to do those cultural comparisons and to be able to use some of the authentic materials that they're researching and to write about that for their project. There is an oral presentation, as you know, so that's the presentation where we concentrate the World Language Day. It's when students bring their project and they, in some form, present it to the panel. And of course, then there is the interview, and that is to fulfill that interpersonal exchange that is one of the communication modes that is necessary to be assessed for their presentation. And this brings us to how is the presentation conducted. So this is basically how the scheduled time for the student, for each student would go. So in about 20 to 25 minutes, usually we don't go too much below 25 minutes just to give the student enough time, but we give the student time to do their presentation, their monologue. This is their oral presentation, and fulfilling the presentational communication mode. And then the next step would be for the panel then to ask some questions and to have that interchange and to ask questions regarding either the project or we encourage the panels to ask questions beyond just the present tense, of course, and questions that are open-ended so that the student can have the opportunity to really show their proficiency, showcase their proficiency. And then after that, the student steps out and the panelists have an opportunity to have a conversation and to decide if this is if the student has reached the level that is necessary to fulfill the criteria for the seal of biliteracy. We know that the students are not necessarily required to do a culminating project. So when we first started our consortium, for the first one, we built it right in there because we really wanted to see the students, and most of the students, had to do a presentation anyway. So we really included it in our mission statement and in the document that guided our consortium. But as we've gone along, we know that students may very well be able to gather their 3 points without having to do an actual presentation. So we remind them that the overarching goal is graduation with Regents diploma graduation, and then the 3 points. And however they can gather their 3 points on each of those literacies, they certainly are able to do that. Most of the time, as you can see by the graph that Candy has shared with us before, even in other presentations, we see that most of the students need a project presented in order to be able to retrieve those 2 points that are 2/3 really, can get them 2/3 of the way to their literacy. We notice on the English side that there's a few more students that do not need to use that culminating project. Maybe they have an AP class besides their ELA score, common core score, and et cetera. So they're able to retrieve those 3 points. But on the world language side, it's just a very slim slice of our pie for those students who are that are able to retrieve those points without having to do their culminating project. The rationale behind creating the consortium base, and it really was, it was a homegrown project for our mid-state region. But the rationale for that was really based on that slide. As we know that most students are going to have to do a project and present it. And so knowing that, we also know that we are somewhat subjective, particularly to our students, because we love them and we care for them. And so it became very apparent that we would have to really implement some measure with incredible fidelity and with accountability in order to be able to make sure that the rigor is there and make sure that the student is really assessed, their proficiency is really assessed accurately. And then, of course, all of that takes time and it takes staff. And if we didn't assess our own students, then it would take even more staff to be able to fill panel tables with 2 or 3 teachers that spoke that language and that were able to assess and assist us in assessing the student. So all of that takes space, it takes time, it takes staff, it took a good amount of organization just logistically. And that very much became sort of the impetus for how are we going to accomplish this? Additionally, I looked at when I first joined, when I joined Mid-State Auburn, I looked at the number of districts that we were responsible to support. And there's 126 districts just in my region. And I looked at that and I thought, how would I equitably, as the world language part of our team, be able to offer this opportunity to the students in as many of those 126 districts as possible. And so it became very clear that my area was large, as you can tell, on New York State little map there. That blue area is our area. It's about 1/3 of the state, a little over 1/3 of the state. Our demographics are really really good demographics. We have 113 languages spoken. I think that's going to even go higher this year. And we serve nearly 8,000 Ls. So you can tell that it is a group, a good size chunk of the Ls that are representative of our state. Then the rationale behind the World Language Days just sort of faded right into that. The idea is it doesn't really make sense for me to try to individually approach each one of the districts rather than working collaboratively. The same thing with the schools. Would it be easier for them, instead of working by themselves, to maybe, even if they weren't working with their BOCES, to maybe just attach themselves to a neighboring district so that they could start by working collaboratively with a neighboring district. So you could do this in even just in that small realm. It became easier to recruit panelists, right? And especially those less commonly taught languages, French, German, Spanish, even Italian, we can gather. Latin, we have that is pretty common in our region, and it is taught in many of our districts. But the other languages were hard pressed to have those taught in districts. So having to recruit panelists to assess those presentations in order to give our students that opportunity as well. It becomes a little bit more of a lift. And then training those panelists as well, and making sure that we conduct, as we talked before, as I mentioned before, conduct and evaluate those presentations in a rigorous manner, in a way that it's aligned to our standards, and accurately and with accountability. We looked at the 9 BOCES that we have, and then we just began from the very top, from Jefferson Lewis, and that was our first year. And then the following year, that was the year that I was actually retiring from Solvay High School. And then we just moved on to OCM and moved on to TST, and we sort of went down the line and began introducing the idea of the consortium to each one of those BOCES. Now, not every district that belongs to each of these BOCES participates, because you know that districts have the autonomy to run this in-house. For us, it just made sense. We encourage as many as could. Some came to visit, some presented, some of the teachers came to visit and presented and became a part, and then decided that this might be something that they would like to do the next time. And how the World Language Days are conducted, we do have teachers and administrators that obviously are on hand to support the student, but it is really BOCES led. And I love to make it BOCES led, because it is the BOCES that is really familiar with that region. They're familiar with the culture of those districts, the component districts. They're familiar with the communities, and they're familiar with the schedules. So I love to identify someone in each one of the BOCES that is able to then sort of hold it all together, provide the expertise that they have, which is knowing that community and that group of districts that they typically service in so many other ways, and then leverage that to help us with the Seal of Biliteracy presentation day. We include faculty, board member, even if there's just 2 or 3 board members that are part of either the BOCES itself or from the schools. We encourage anyone who can attend to attend, the parents, of course, the candidates. And then we layered this process, right? We didn't do this the very first year, but eventually we began so that now we can add this, and now we can add, and we finally added a layer of where we are encouraging the other students, juniors particularly, and sophomores, who are looking at the Seal of Biliteracy and are intrigued by it, and some of them are already in the process of Seal, to come and attend and watch some of the presentations. They, of course, the BOCES administrator will put the schedule for the day, will create the decorations, pull all of that together, provide the food that is needed for that day, whether they do that in conjunction with districts or on their own. Different BOCES do different things. And so I never just expect, we always just ask to see what it is that they can do, and then we put that collaborative effort together. We do share panel members, and that's a really wonderful opportunity. So while you might be running this in district, and you may not have the opportunity to have your students be assessed fully by someone that they have not been taught by for that year or the year before, we that luxury with the consortium because we can take care of each other's students. So some schools will assess other school students and vice versa. They then return the favor. Of course, the access to technology and the rubrics, which are the foundational piece of this, they're always available, and those logistics are available. This picture dates from way back when we started with J.L. BOCES, and I believe that that's one of our council members, Stephanie, and two of her students. And so, again, the benefits for schools to participate is they now can just bring their students to a central location. That they can share panel members, they can share the cost. Some of the BOCES are now co-serving. They do a cooperative service, which is a service that they offer in other areas, but they now offer that as well for translation or for assessments. And so those are all beautiful things that are already in place at a BOCES that can be leveraged. A lot of our BOCES leverage the other students that are part of the BOCES as well. And there's just many examples across our region of BOCES using the students to design the graphics, the invitations, the posters, to put the decorations together. And that is all done by this community of students that attends the BOCES and that can also participate and celebrate, even though they may not be a part of the Seal of Biliteracy per se. They're being a part of that full day. Again, for schools, and this is really for schools and teachers alike, but the increased awareness and that appreciation for world languages, it's just it has been a really incredible way of creating movement across our region, not just for SEAL, but just for world languages in general. The benefits to teachers: you get a chance to be with colleagues across your region, and you get a chance to observe students from other schools present, which kind of helps you to also calibrate your own teaching and your own students as they come to present. A lot of professional learning goes on there. The picture that you see here, these are my students that I brought. They were the first students, Seal of Biliteracy students, for our region, and they are from Solvay. And this was just my way of sort of setting the example for that day just before I retired, and bringing students to the Jefferson Lewis Consortium to present their Seal of Biliteracy. Again, you are able to calibrate and to reflect as a teacher on this process, and to hopefully just go out of there with a renewed commitment for next year to bring more students. Again, these students this was actually on their presentation day. They're outside of the Jefferson Lewis BOCES, outside of that main building. And I don't know if Julie's on the call, but she was so instrumental. That's the BOCES administrator that is to this day leading the Seal of Biliteracy World Language Day there for their component districts. I believe that when we first started this, it was Julie's second day maybe on the job, and she was absolutely amazing at just, hey, let's do this, let's encourage teachers, and let's go for it. And it certainly was set the example for our whole region, and it certainly was it was a wonderful movement that was started on that day. For students, you see them being able to showcase their world language and showcase their culture. And a few of the students are dressed in some of their own cultural outfits, and we're able to showcase that. They're connecting with students from other regions and from other schools, and it becomes sort of a United Nations Day almost, because there's so many languages, and it just has grown into a really beautiful event. The recognition for learning an additional language is super important for kids, and then the celebration of the accomplishment. And I do have to say that when you think of celebration, I know that we always say, you know, we do all of this, it's a great day, and then we celebrate. Candy has been on site before on some of these the consortium days, and so have several of you I know on the call. And I think you would join me in saying that the celebration starts the moment that the students get there. And you just see this beautiful opportunity for them to connect with kids. Yeah, they're a little nervous, but you see sort of this blend of, phew, I just did my presentation, was not as bad as I thought. And then you see this blend of, oh, don't talk to me right now. I'm practicing with so-and-so because I'm going up next. But all of it is celebratory in so many ways, and it really does showcase our world language program. I want to obviously point out that the culminating projects are evaluated with the rubrics that are aligned to our standards, to our revised standards. And my choice, and the choice that I always encourage for all of our 9 consortia, is to use the our Office of Bilingual Education World Language rubrics that were put out. You see them linked there. But you do have the autonomy to use a consortium rubric should your consortium decide to create their own. Or if you were doing this as a school, of course, you have the option to develop that for your own district. Again, with those last 2 choices, when you're developing your own, it does need to be vetted by Candy, and it does need to be matched up to the aligned rubric. We always tell the CO coordinators when they come to the World Language Day that the students need to be told ahead of time that they're not going to get their results that when they leave. I think that it's sort of self-explanatory, but it does help so that it keeps that celebration going. It keeps the event and the opportunity that students had to be able to come and present in front of so many people and share this amazing day. It keeps it all in a very positive way, and in no way does it exclude the celebration from somebody who might not have reached exactly the level of proficiency that they needed to get those 2 points for their criteria. And as you know, I think you know that obviously the student has until graduation day, so it's not over until it's over. And we would definitely always offer the student the opportunity to represent should they have not been able to achieve on that day. We reached out to a couple of colleagues that I felt might want to share their experience with the group here today, and they sent a statement and their photo. This is Jessica Killian. I don't even know if she's on the call because I didn't see everyone. We've been busy throughout the office here today, but I have just had such a beautiful relationship with Jessica. She's part of the Kiyuganandaga BOCES. She is a teacher for Jordan Elber. She's a Spanish teacher and has really elevated. She's been very helpful to the BOCES coordinator, SEAL coordinator, and she obviously is a SEAL coordinator in her own right in her district, has been super helpful to help lead the consortium and to bring that perspective of a teacher to the consortium. And so she speaks about the shared privilege and also, of course, the shared responsibility, that burden that we all have to make sure that we provide the rigor and the opportunity and the accountability, but then the shared celebration that we get with each other and that the students get with not just their teachers, but their peers as well. She talks about the benefit of the strength in numbers. And if you are even considering either joining a consortium or talking to your BOCES about it, if you're outside of our region, or if you're just doing this in your district and you've decided that, you know what, maybe the next step might be to just tag on to a neighboring district and get a colleague to do this along with me and join forces and collaborate in that way. She's talking about the sense of community that she felt when she pursues the same goals and all of the kids being together as well. And so as you read her account of her experience with the Seal of Illiteracy, I think it pretty much I didn't tell her what we were going to really necessarily talk about, but it covers all of the things that I've just mentioned. Building the friendships included, and making sure that our world language and our kids, our students and teachers are honored. Pam McHenry is an administrator for the Uganda BOCES. And I asked Pam to also provide a statement. Pam and Jessica work together because Jordan Elbridge is one of the districts in the Uganda BOCES. And so they work together. I think the beauty of the collaboration piece is that no one stakeholder really can do this alone when it comes to the consortium. And Pam is amazing, has been an incredible example of what can happen when you use every BOCES resource that you have at your disposal and then some. And when you have this incredible desire to just really serve the districts that are component districts of UBOCES. She's not world language. I believe she's math, I think. But she has Jessica to provide the world language support. And so the reason for that collaboration is that while Jessica is working in a SEAL coordinator in her district and working with students and teachers there, Pam is doing the logistics. And Jessica needs those logistics for this day to go so well for her kids and for her the teachers that she's bringing. And Pam also needs throughout the year, the CO year, she also needs Jessica in case there are questions that are related to world language and where Jessica has the expertise of the aligned standards. So the two of them work very well together. And Pam talks about the impact and how amplified that is when you bring this to a collective group and you put all the expertise together in order to really assist our students and our colleagues. Last but not least, I wanted to show you a statement from Jean Charlo. Jean is from the Marcellus School District. That's an OCM BOCES district. And Jean is now a superintendent. She has an amazing support to the OCM BOCES consortium. Even before she was a superintendent, she was there with her staff at all times. She was very supportive. And Jean talks about the meticulous and unwavering support. She herself has had an unwavering support for the OCM BOCES consortium. But it is a meticulous process, and it's a process that really sort of does deep dive into many layers of what it takes to bring a student, to introduce them to SEAL, and then to bring them all the way to the celebration of having achieved SEAL. And we're really grateful to have not just Jean, but so many administrators like herself. It really takes a village to be able to really be able to put it all together in order for students to really be able to get the benefit of this. Candy already mentioned the webinar series. She's always very careful to make sure that we maintain this continuum. And so we are right now calibrating teachers and calibrating panel members to assist with the evaluations and to assist in assessing our students. And so at the right time, Candy is offering the training to the panelists. And so we've been encouraging our team to join in there, all of the teachers that are going to be assessing for our consortia will also be calibrated within the consortia. But certainly this is available and it will be a wonderful resource. And then last but not least, that all important end of year data submission, and that forum has really become easier and easier, but it is a really nice opportunity to be able to answer your questions regarding uh, what we need to do to finalize everything after the achievement. Local support is available. You know that we are Mid-State Auburn, but we are just one of the regions across the state that offer the support to world language teachers, administrators, and students. And I think that I'm my screen just went off, but I'm going to kick it back to Candy so that she can, there is a picture, I believe, with us so that you can see, but my screen is off now. So thank you so much for your time. I will take any questions, and I know Candy has been busily taking a good look at what might have come in, and please feel free to reach out to me. On the presentation is my information as well, and my personal cell is on there. And so if there's anything I can do to, if you're at all intrigued and there's anything I can do, make sure that you reach out to us if you would. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate that. So we wanted to make sure we presented this to you because right about now you're starting to organize your Seal of Biliteracy presentations. And we want you to understand that while most schools across the state organize these events within their own school, and therefore all of the staffing and resources are drawn from your own school, that Maria has developed this innovative program which takes the collective power of many schools from the same BOCES and organizes it on one day. So I know Maria covered this, but I want to highlight this. When her schools participate in these collective world language days, the individual school is relieved of the requirement or duty of finding panelists, especially in hard to find languages. These panelists are gathered, they're trained. These panelists are impartial evaluators of the student project. There's no bias involved relative to knowing the student ahead of time. The whole process is organized for you. As a school, you do two things. You bring your students and chaperone and supervise them. And then your world language teachers that have students who are presenting, they also serve as panelists, although not for their school's students. And so the workload involved in putting this together on a school-to-school basis is significantly decreased because of the collaborative nature. Now, before we get to just a few announcements, Maria, I believe you showed your survey slide, correct? I'm going to show my screen. I want to make sure that you got this. So I'm going to put this survey link into the chat. It's a very quick survey, and what it's designed to do is to ask if you might have interest in having a World Language Day organized in your region. Now, we don't collect your email unless you ask for or ask us to at the very end. You can complete this completely anonymously. Notice that what it does is it asks you to identify your region and then goes on to ask if you work in a region that already has it and if you'd be interested. So we're going to pause just for 5 minutes and ask you to take this survey. If you do want to be contacted about this, there is a spot at the very end to put in your email address. So we're going to go silent for just about 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to come back. Now, I'm not closing the form. You still have the opportunity to do that. We also want to be able to capture our forum members who weren't able to be here today. But I do want to share with you that if you take a look at the basic results so far, you can see that we have people from all regions. That most of them don't already participate in World Language Days, but take a look at this. About 81% of you said you'd be interested in having this. And so this is one of the great benefits of the SEAL Forum is we get to hear from you to potentially offer these additional benefits. So again, that'll stay open. So we just have two quick announcements to you. Thanks to my friend Ricky from Proctor High School in Utica, I realized that there was an issue with regards to schools having access to their digital badges. So you may be aware that there are all kinds of digital badges that are issued to schools and to SEAL coordinators to help them promote the SEALs. So there's a SEAL school badge, there's a SEAL coordinator badge. There's special badges when schools have students that earn the seal in more than one world language in addition to English. And the problem that Ricky brought to my attention was, although I email these badges out each year, when SEAL coordinators change, those new SEAL coordinators don't necessarily have access to the prior badges. So I am designing a system so that you can, at any time, day or night, or whomever is the SEAL coordinator, can have access to all of the school's historical digital badges. Now, this will be ready by the end of the week, but I always want to give this group a nice preview. And so what I'm going to do is just show you a screen share of our Google Doc. So let me just get to the right spot here. Now on this, what you're going to see are two things. The first thing that you're going to see, I'm actually going to show you a spreadsheet here. And I'll make this. So what you're going to see is a master spreadsheet that has the lists of all of the schools, and then it'll have a list of all the badges. So this first section is, in what years did the school offer it? So if you're at Adirondack, you've offered it since 2022-23. But you'll see it has subsequent sections for badges earned. So you can have the SEAL coordinator badge earned, the SEAL school badge earned, and then the special badges. You can see that I've only done these first three categories up until now, but I will be finishing those before the end of the week. So if you are Albany High School, you'll be able to see this spreadsheet online and be able to say, oh, I have badges from this date to this date. And if you don't already have them, you'll be able to you'll be able to go to a folder that I'm going to provide to you that hopefully you can see on the screen right now. And this has all of the badges by year. So I'm going to open up 2023-24, and you see it has all of the badges. And when you hover over them, it shows you what they look like. So you will be able to download these at will whenever you want, therefore eliminating the need for me to email them to you. So another quick announcement. Let me share that agenda screen one more time so that we have it. We want to remind you of your local support contacts that you have for the Seal of Biliteracy shown here on the screen, of which Maria is one. And before we get to our question and answer period, we want to remind you that our next meeting of the SEAL Forum will be Monday, April 15th.